Hello, people. How's it going? Well, I'm going to try to make this into a series. I'm still, me, I'm still trying to figure things out when it comes to this video thing. But since I'm going to try to make this into a history series, I'm going to try to do some other series as well. But I'm trying to figure out how to do this right. But anyway, it's called learning. Anyway, history matters. Why study history? Well, one, it's the story of the human race. It's human nature on parade. It's the study history. I think the problem is a lot of it is that people think history is just about names, places, and dates. It's like, okay, I can say anybody's name and you know the name, the place, and the date, and that's about the only thing most people understand about history or view history or study history. Most people barely read history anymore. I'll stick to that statement. I think most people don't read it or nor do they care. What is the value of studying the past? Does it matter in the long run? Well, yeah. As the old saying goes, those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it, which human nature is very fond of reminding us. We've had two world wars. I should tell you something. I mean, is it really important to study beyond the basics? Yeah, it is. I mean, history is about people. I know that sounds real basic and real simplistic, but it is about people. It is about people. It is about people just living their own lives, people being sucked into world events or small town events, but it's all related. Human beings are connected. Human beings are connected by history. History is why people, sit down and write about history. History to me is not boring. I like history. I love history. I love studying history. I love studying the bigger things of history and the smaller things of history. And what do I mean by that is the big events like World War One, World War Two, the American Civil War, or the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. The smaller things would be, people just trying to survive in just places you've never even heard of, or just small, minor little wars that small tribes get into, or small nations get into. History to me is not irrelevant to study. It is about people. It is about trying to understand those. It's looking beyond names, places, and dates. That is mostly what history is taught us anyway. It's nothing but names, places, and dates. I can say Napoleon, and I guarantee you're going to think of the French, Waterloo, and 1815, which is the Battle of Waterloo. But why? How did we get to that point? How did he get to that point? How did he rise to that point? What about the people involved with him getting to that point? History is not a disconnected enterprise. People are all connected in some way to the past, the present, and the future. I mean, my notes, names, places, is it really important to go beyond the basics, which is names? I can name a whole bunch of names. And I guarantee you, most people will have a vague idea of the names. They might be able to mention something, but they won't be able to tell me why. They won't be able to tell me anything other than beyond the fact that, okay, that event happened. Sorry, I was just distracted by my books. Doesn't take much to distract me from my books. See, I think history is important because it does explain why people are the way they are. It explains human nature. It explains human psychology. It explains all the nuances and all the good and bad, the ugly of human beings being what they are. And then also at times, really makes you wonder why they do what they do. I mean, to me, history is fun. It's frustrating, it's fun, it's annoying, it's great. It's all the human words you can use. I mean, excuse me. It is hot outside, and it's hot in this house, and I'm sweating. It's hot today. Very hot here today, Minnesota. Which is probably why I'm not focusing very well. Why does it matter to me? Well, I like history. I like studying things about the Roman Empire and certain Roman emperors like Constantine the Great, who wasn't a Christian. I don't care what you tell me. I like studying Julian the Apostate, the Roman Emperor Julian the Apostate. But I guarantee you, no one else has ever heard that name. Right now, I guarantee you, nobody who's listening to this, 99% chance that no one's ever heard knows who Julian the Apostate is. I mean, I like studying the Greek history of Plato and Aristotle and Socrates and the Battle of Thermopylae and in ancient history, the Hittites, the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Hittites, the Assyrians, the Samaritans. This is the stuff that Mr. Cyrus, in my high school history class a long time ago, 40 odd years ago, got me into history. I mean, I blame him. Thank you. I think he wasn't a brilliant teacher, but he was a good teacher. He got me into the subject. I mostly remember the ancient history stuff that he taught, and that I always found fascinating. But why does it matter to me? I find as much as human beings drive me crazy, I also find them very fascinating. I find what they do, what they don't do, what they get themselves into, why. But just people are not boring. Human nature is not boring, is what I should say, because there are some dull people out there. But human nature is not boring. It just isn't. It's an interesting subject. I mean, how can you not read about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire or the Japanese Empire and why they became what they became during the 1800s and the 1900s? The rise and fall of Adolf Hitler, the career of Winston Churchill. I mean, these are all famous things, I know. And most people who know those names, but do they really know those names? Do they really, really know who these people were other than the name, place, and date concept philosophy? I have it all written down. That's why I keep looking at my notes. I told you I'm going to start writing this stuff down. Learning from the past events is educational. Because, like I said, identical, that's almost the same thing, is educational. You will, if you look deep enough, you will find a lot of human interest stories that are not so much forgotten, but just are not remembered because they are written down somewhere. They are written down. If you look long enough, they're not really forgotten. They're just not found. They're just not looked for. There are a lot of interesting people out there who have who were born, lived, and died long before I was born, who are worth looking into. And if I am going to do this into a several part thing, I will probably bring up a few in the next one. But, excuse me. One should not drink root beer while on video. But I'm trying to get an example. A decent example. Might fit well to the example. A better example. See, I have a hard time explaining history, why I like it so much, because I like it. I know what I'm trying to say, and why it interests me, and why it fascinates me, and why, as much as people are, they are what they are difficult to understand, which is why history is so fascinating. It's why you do history. It's why any historian does history. Why does a historian bother figuring out, the rise of Bismarck, or the rise of Mussolini, or the rise of FDR, or Teddy Roosevelt, or Frederick the Great? I mean, these are just names, but to a historian, they're deeper. A real historian. Most people know names. You could say George Washington, and they might have maybe a few things. Like, oh yeah, he's the president. He won the American Revolution. He also started the French and Indian War. He did. Believe me, he did. But I mean, who was Braddock? Braddock was there, a forgotten name. Most people think Cornwallis lost the American Revolution. No, he didn't. He just unfortunately was the guy who got the surrender to George Washington. I mean, history is full of human interest stories and why there was a 7-Year War or French and Indian War also. Why was there a Mexican War against America? Rephrase that. Why was there an American Mexican? I can't talk. The Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848. Why? Because Mexico was too close to America. And we were in expansionist mood. But why? What was it about that we felt we really believed that we really have a manifest destiny to basically conquer all that land? We certainly thought we did. Certainly President Polk certainly did. But why? That's kind of my point, is that it is the 5 W's. The 5 W's of studying history is kind of what I'm trying to get to, which is why I think this is going to be a two-parter on this thing. Is who? Who are these people who thought that they should conquer as much territory as possible? Who were these people who fought in all these other wars? Who was George Washington beyond the first president of the United States? Who was Julian the Apostate and the Roman Empire, the eastern half? Was it eastern half? Yeah, eastern half. No, that's not right. Sorry, off topic. No, it was eastern half. He was in Constantinople. Because Rome, never mind. But anyway, this is the point. It's so fascinating that I get myself all tongue-tied because I'm trying to get all these details out and I'm trying to get it right. That is the point of a historian too, is to, one, not get tongue-tied and sound like a babbling idiot, trying to explain what fascinates them. Because the Roman Empire, after it became Christianized, which it wasn't, is fascinating. It just is. Constantine the Great used Christianity to gain power. I'm sorry, no one is going to convince me he was a Christian. It wasn't. He might have been an Arian, which was not Christianity. But anyway, see, that's the point. Who was Constantine? Who was Julian? What were they after? What did they want? I mean, that could be the other W. Aha! I knew there was another W in there somewhere. Want is the other W. So that's 6 W's. I mean, it kind of works, I think. I'll have to think about it. But what did they want? Where were they? What was their time frame? I mean, the Plato and Socrates and Aristotle, these questions can be asked as well. Who, what, the where, when, why, and what? Well, I'll have to think about the one thing. I'm not where I think it does, but I'll have to think about that. But my point is, as I ramble, is that history is about more than just dates and places and names. I think that's partly why history is so boring to people, because unfortunately they have people like me who right now don't teach it very well. I'm trying to teach it well, which is why I'm doing this, because I want to be a good teacher. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying, which is my point. I'm trying to teach myself, and I'm trying to teach others, and I want that enthusiasm, which I have, which is part of my problem. Excuse me. As I get so many things happening inside my screwed up little brain, that it comes out rambling, and I sound like I'm babbling, which I probably am. But I like history. I enjoy studying it. I enjoy just getting all these facts in my head, and they're all trying to come out at the same time. And I'm trying to teach somebody something, like Constantine the Great, or Julian the Apostate, or George Washington, or Machiavelli, or Pope Julius II. Yes, I'm randomly pulling that name out of the hat. Or Adrian VI, I believe, was the first and only English pope who Henry II of England had to deal with. See, this is why history is fascinating. Is all these interesting moments and interesting lives. And I'm at 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop. I know. Gather my thoughts a little better. And I'm going to do another part 2 for this. But history, the past matters. I know, I'll keep going. Studying the past matters. Remembering the past matters. Recording the past matters. Conclusion for today, anyway. History matters because the human story is important as a lesson on human nature. It's the good to be it's I cannot write. It's the good to the evil of human nature that one what the I worry about the person who writes these notes, mainly because it's me. It's the good and the evil of human nature to study history. It is. I'm at 16 minutes. So if anyone's up to listening to this, thank you for listening. I appreciate your patience. I am trying to make this fun, worthwhile, and interesting for people. I am trying to keep it under a certain amount of time because I've discovered that 15 minutes seems to be about the good length for these things. So I will probably do number 2 next, or at least on this lesson anyway. So please like, share, comment, subscribe. Behave yourselves, people, because you know I'm not going to. Later.